All right, so um, today we're going to be talking about the box properties there. So in CSS, we have something referred to as box model. And when you're talking about box model, what this means is that this is how CSS represents every element that you have on the page. So everything you have on the page, so CSS, they are just box. And these box come with these properties that you can change on them. One of the property there is the width. We have the height that you can use to control the height of the box. We have the border, which is a line around the box. Then we have the margin, which is the spacing outside of the box. And we have the padding, which is the spacing inside the box. So, and all these things, they are very, very, very important. For example, now going to this site, as you can see, you see that this content, they are not touching the edge of that box. It's because they are applying something known as padding. So you can see there's a box there. So the spacing inside it is what we call padding. Then the spacing outside of that box is what we call margin. But how do you apply those spaces? Then what if you need to give your box a specific height, or as you can see now, this one now, as you can see that box is not going past a specific width, or is not going past a specific height. So the box model properties are what you're going to use to change all these information. As you can see, some stuff that are coming out, as you can see, like a shadow at the back. So you can change that one too, which is something I'm going to again to look at this edge. You see that it is rounded a little bit. So I'll be talking about that one under the border, but let me put it on a separate line because another property on its own is known as a border radius, like this. And for the other one that I mentioned, so we have this box shadow like this. Again, too, if it is text, or we have two type of shadow, but the one I will talk most about is the other one there, which is the box shadow. But you can have box shadow and you can have text shadow. So when you want to apply the text on, you want to apply the shadow on the text, not the box. That's where you'll be using text shadow. But if you want to apply it on the box, whether you are dealing with text or not, that's when you are going to use box shadow, and you are going to see all this in action. So let me go back to our page, and I'm going to be using this our H1 there like that. So I'm going to do the selector. Luckily for us, we have it here already. So I'm just going to go with it there. So save. But why are we not having the gradients? Because I'm not seeing. Is this my code? So where is it? So I have this H1 background image. Oh, no wonder it will never work because this is not the way you're supposed to supply this one. This one's supposed to be to right like that, which is something that we talked about yesterday. And the reason it was not working, I changed this into conic gradients, but I forgot to return it back at this side. So now we have this thing showing correctly. So what we need to do now is to start applying some of the properties that we want. And as you can see right now, I have a background on this text. But if you look at it, it's not applying it on the text. That's kind of like a box around it. So that's what we call the box property. So the box here is always around every element that you have on the page. So, and you can now apply some of these properties that we have under here. And the first one is the width. Now, I've already used it before, but I've not really explained it like that. And what the width is there for is for you to contain the length of your box in the horizontal axis there like that. So for example, here we can just give it a width, and currently it's just taking the full width because all H1 or all block element, they used to take up the entire space of where you are using them. But if I don't want them to take the entire space, I can just apply the width property. For example, here all my H1, the width they are going to have there is going to be 200 pixels. And what this means is that the box, the length of the box, will not go less, and it will not be more than this 200. It will always stay at that particular 200. No matter the content that is inside it, it will be 200 pixels as the weight of the element. But you know, if I want this thing to be adaptive, like me to be changing based on the screen size, I can actually use the this one that I talked about, which is VW and VH. Now, when I was talking about CSS unit, so now VW is talking about the 100% of the entire screen that you have there. But this one means I'm using 200, which is crazy because it means I'm going more than the screen. But if I want, I can just use 50 VW here. So as you can see, it's going to take half. But if the screen change, you see that it will recalculate the new half because it's depending on that. But if I use pixels, you know, that one doesn't change at all. It will just be whatever value that you gave to it. So I'll be using 250 pixels here. So no matter what is going on the page, it will always maintain that value. It doesn't change. So pixels always depend on anything. Once it gets its value, that's the final value for that element, and it will never change at all. So apart from this, we can actually supply other type of width, because these widths come with different variants. You know, this one I just say width here, it means it can't go less and it can't go more. It will be at that particular value. But there's some time you want the stuff to still expand, but it can't go less than a particular value. No, it can, by default, if you don't specify the width, this thing can just change based on the screen that you are working with there, like that. Because by default, it want to cover up the container. So let me move this thing out. And as you can see here, as I'm changing it, it's adjusting based on that container. And again, too, as I'm reducing the stuff, it's going down. But what if I don't want it to go down past a specific weight? No, you can go down, but don't go less than this particular value. Again, too, you can go up, but don't go more than this particular value. So that's where this variant comes in, where you'll be using mean width. So this is the minimum one. No matter what is going on that screen, if that screen is less than this, or wherever you are using it, if it is less than this, the box must not go past this value. So that's where the mean weight. So if I use mean weight of maybe like let's use a big value, 1000 pixels like this, even though the screen is not up to that, it will make sure that all this H1, they are nothing less than this value. No, by default, it's just taking what is there. But once I save it, you see that there is going to be a scroll bar here, because we said this thing should not be less. This is not what I want to do. The save is not from here. It's supposed to be from here. And as you can see now, we have a scrolling bar, because we said this thing must not go less than, as you can see, it will never go less than that value that we put here, like that. So no matter what is going on, if where you put it is less than this, it will make sure that the box is not going less than this particular value, like that. So for example, here I can just use maybe like 450 like this. So going back to this, as you can see, it can expand like this, it can go down, but it will get to a point the browser will be less than 450. Once less than 450, as you can see now, that one is not going down again. It must always be that 450 as the minimum. We can go down, but the minimum you can go is 450 for that element. Once the element hit that 450, it doesn't go down again. Again, too, when you're increasing the stuff, or when that like that your element can increase, but you don't want it to go past a specific value, that one too, you can use max weight. So it can increase, it can decrease, but it will never go less than this, and it will never go more than this value. No, it means it can change, like, but it's going to be in that range. But when you say weight, that one doesn't go down and it doesn't go up. It stays at that particular value that you mentioned. But if you want this thing to be flexible, and at the same time you want to give constraint, then you can use this stuff like that. As you can see, it has some predefined value that we're not going to be using right now. But when you get to the time we need it, we're going to be. So here now, the maximum is going to be 600, while the minimum is 450. So this box now, as you can see now, can you see that it stopped now? It's not increasing again, because we said the maximum is 600. It can go down, it can go up, but it can't go more than 600. Now the browser is more than 600, so it will stop at that place. And that's what you see on some side, because there's some element they want it to expand, but they don't want it to go more than this particular value. But once it started going more than that, the design will not look like the way you want it to be. Again, too, it can reduce, but don't go less than this particular value. So that's where you be using. You don't need to use the two of them together. You can use them separately or use them together depending on what you want to do. So this one will be used anytime you know that this thing will always maintain that value. This one will be used anytime you know that it can't go less than that value, but it can go down, but it can't go less than that value. Again, this one, it can go up, but it can't go more than this value. So that's where you'll be using all these one like that. You can put all of them there, but this one, all this one, they have power over this width because you said it cannot be less or greater. So all this one will always win over your width if you're using three of them together. Because you said the width should be 250, but no, it doesn't make sense like that. But most of the time, as you can see, it's not going less than that 450 that we mentioned like that too. And again too, this one at 600, since the value we gave to the width is not up to 600, so it will just stop there, but it can't go down, it can't go more than that 600. So which means this width now, if I give it maybe like 1200 like this, so let's go up. As you can see, it's not going more than 600. So all this one, they have power more than this because they are constrained on your element. You are saying the weight should be 1200, but here you are saying the stuff must not be more than 600. So this one will override that weight. So you need to know when to use them. So you don't just use them anyhow. You call them at the correct time there. So just like the way we have the weight, we have the same thing for the height. Like everything that we just did now for the weight is the same thing that you can do for the height. So like that, we know the length now is now in the vertical direction. So here too we have the height, which I can just give 300 pixels like that. So the same thing here too. It doesn't care whether the content here is up to that or not. It will always maintain that height like that. But there's a problem with height. Again to it happen to on the weight side like that. But majorly where you'll be facing this problem is the height part. For example, here now, let me go back to the page and somewhere here like that, let me just pick this CSS. No, they are not in a container. So what I will just do, okay, this p tag that we have at the top here is in mode. Let me just use that. Okay, this p tag here, so let's use it for this one so that I can show you what, or you can see what is going on there. But first, let me remove the one so that it doesn't take much space. So here I'm going to select the what I want to do now is that let me give it a class so that we are going to target all of that one. Class is going to be test, so that is the name of the class. Then from our code, we can target it based on class. So this is going to have background so that you can see what is going on there. So I'm going to give it background color of green, and the color is going to be yellow so that the text can come outside on it. Again, now we want to use the height there, which is going to be let me just use 50 pixels like this. So save. As you can see that the content is not going outside because the content is not that much. But now let me increase the size of the text. So let me increase the size of the text. We've talked about that too. So here we can use our font size. By default, all your texts are just using the normal HTML font, but I want it to go to 64 pixels because I can change it. Now look at what is now happening. That 64 is even much. Let me use 30 pixels like this. Can you see what is now happening? The text is now going outside of that box because you said the box must not be more than 50, but the text is bigger than that. So it will not adjust because you are the one in charge now. You've given it what to use for the height. Assuming you did not specify the height, it will adjust it automatically based on the content that is inside that container or that is inside the box. But once you change the height or the weight, it will follow what you put there. It doesn't change again like that. So yeah, now how do you now deal with something like this? This is what we call overflow here. So when the content is going outside of its container, we call it overflow. And we have a property that you can use to change that. So let me add to the list too, because it's very important. And that's what you'll be using for something like this anytime you have a content, even though by the browser is doing it by default. And that's why you see when the content is more than this thing, you see that it will scroll. So you can use overflow to control what is the browser have it already on the body. Then again too, you see that this side too, you can see that it's not having its own scrolling there. So what they are using there is overflow, because when the content is trying to go outside of that container, you need to do something. If you don't do it, they will just go outside, and once they go outside, they will be doing what you are not what you don't want. If there is any other content after them, they will just go over it. Or let me even increase the value so that you see that it's actually going over that stuff. So for example, if I use 50 pixels and save, can you see? So they will just be doing it because they are now going to, like, the overflow, they will just flow to the other content, which is not what you want like that. So how do you solve it? We can solve it through overflow property there. So when you be using overflow is when you are dealing with height and width, because you are controlling the box like that. So we can use overflow, and this overflow come with different value. Again, overflow can happen on X and it can happen on Y. So if you look at this side now, the side that I showed before, so going back to that side, so you can see it's showing it on the vertical distance. So this is Y, but it can happen on the X too. So when it is showing it down here, that is X, and when it is showing it here, that is Y. And you can use overflow to just change the two of them at once, or you mention each one of them separately. But I want to show you this thing very well so that you see. So let me go to this side. You see where it used to cause problem like that. So let me just go to their site and search for something, or let me search for something. I think that's where it's going to show like that. So landing page. So you can come to this site to see different design or anything like graphics. Once you come to that site, you are going to see, as you can see, to show you different this symbol. This thing is too it's not giving me the way. Let me expand this stuff so that you can see. Can you see now? Can you see that this box, it has a definite height, but the content that is inside it is more than that? What now happen, as you can see, is now scrolling up and down. So what they are using here is overflow, because you are going to have this in a lot, because in some places you want your element to be of a specific size. You don't want the thing to just go outside of that size, but the content inside it are going to be more than that. So what do? You talk to the container that once there is anything that can scroll out of you, just for example, if I close, as you can see now, it's not doing again. After closing all these things, you can see it's not doing again. The only time it to scroll is when the content is more than the container. You know, the content stop here. But once I expand all these things, as you can see now, the content will start going outside. So what you now see is scrolling. So you too, when you have your box or when you have your container and the content is going outside of that container, you can use overflow to control what is going to happen. So we have overflow, but I told you it can happen on X and it can happen on Y, but I'm just going to use overflow. So the first thing that is there is just visible. This is what is there by default, which means anything that is going outside, just show it. So whatever that is going outside, just show it the way it's going. Just overlap it on top of the other content. But most of the time, this is not what you want. Anything that is going outside, you want to cut it out. Nothing should go outside. So we have hidden. Hidden means that it's going to be hidden inside the box. You never go outside the box. So when you need something like this, where you normally use this is when you have image that you want it to cover the box and you're not using background and you don't want it to go outside of that container. You can just use this your overflow hidden on it, because you want the thing to expand a lot, but that expansion is going to be like go outside of the box, or your content in general is leaving that box. Once it's leaving the box, you can use this overflow of hidden, and anywhere you have that box, it will cut everything out from that place. So if I increase this stuff to maybe 60, that's where it's going to cut it. So wherever the box stop, that's where the content will stop. Nothing will go outside after that line. So if I change it to this, so you can see that the other content has cut out, but let me use 50 so that we can see that something is there, or let me even use 55 so that it can show more. As you can see now, it's cut out. But what if you don't want it to cut out, you want it to scroll? So you can use this scroll, but I don't like this one like that. As you can see, it's going to give us scroll, where you can scroll to see the remaining content. But there's a problem with this. The problem is that, can you see that on the X too? Even though nothing is scrolling on the X, it's still showing that stuff. But we don't need it on the X. we really want you to show it for the side that actually have the content that we scroll. So instead of us using the scroll like this, and again, too, if the stuff is not going outside, it will always show it. Even if nothing is going outside, it will still show it. It will always show it. So if you want this thing to always show it, you use scroll. But if you don't want it like that, we can use auto. Auto will switch between scroll and not scrolling version of that. You know, when the thing is not scrolling at all, it have the way it used to display. And when it's going to scroll, it have the way it will display. So when you now want to switch in between that mode, or you want the browser to figure it out based on the content you have there, so you just use auto. So the browser will add or remove that scrolling bar based on whether you have content that is scrollable or not. You can see now everything is inside the box, so there is no need for us showing that scroll bar. But now if I increase the value back to that 30, because we now have content going, as you can see, it's only showing on the Y, it's not showing on the X, because nothing is scrolling on the X. And again, too, the X can actually scroll too if you want. So as when I have a container now, I can just give it a weight of maybe like 20 pixels or something like that. And as you can see, it's showing on both X and Y, because this thing is really small. Let me use maybe 52 for the width, and as you can see now, it's scrolling on both the X and the Y like that. So auto, we add or remove based on whether that thing will scroll or not like that. So that's when you are going to be using this overflow, but I'm going to remove it because we don't really need it. But anytime your content is going outside of that container, you need to work with overflow. And as you can see from that side, because it's every time that the container have to keep increasing based on the content. So sometimes it has to be a definite height or a definite width, but you don't want the content to go outside. As you can see here too, that's what is being used, because we don't want our content to go outside of the box. So you have to consider the other thing I'm showing here, something is showing up. But this part, the content can really expand more than that box. So what happens? Just scroll when the content is going more than that box. So it's it's something that you are going to be using later on when you have a box that you don't want that have a definite width and height, or just have only one of them, and you see that the content is going outside. So you are going to use the property to change the stuff like that. So the other one that we have here is padding. Let's talk about the padding. As you can see, this content now, there is no breathing space inside that box. The content, the text, just jam pack with that box of the elements. So what if you want to add space inside that box? That's where the padding comes in. But padding is your shorthand property. As you can see that you can specify the left, because when you're talking about padding, it comes with different sides. So it's not just one area alone like that. So when you're talking about padding, we have the top, we have the right, we have the bottom, and we have the left. That's how it moves when you are dealing with this shorter property, because it have the number of value you have to give to it, and based on the number of value you give to it, it's going to apply this in for you. So this is started with, we have top, we have right, we have this bottom, and we have the left. It moves in a clockwise direction. And if you want to talk to any one of the direction, just put it in front of it like this. So for example here, padding left. It means we are only focusing on the left. And if I use 2rem, you see that it's only going to be on the left. But the spacing is inside the box, not outside the box. Because whatever you'll be doing with padding is what you're going to do with margin. The difference is where they are applying the spacing. So instead of me using margin here, instead of me using padding here, I can just change it to margin. You see now, instead of it to put the spacing inside the box, it will now put it outside of the box. So save, can you see now? The spacing is not inside again, it's now outside. So when you need the spacing, yes, the box is what is basically. But when you use padding, it's talking about the content inside that box like that, because most of your content, you don't want it to touch the edge of the box. You want to give them a breathing space. As you can see this button, the content is not touching the edge of that box. So there is a breathing space inside the box. So you're going to be using padding to do all these one here. Once you have your content that have background, or you are showing that container, you always have padding inside it, because you don't want the content to just go to the edge, and it doesn't do it for you by default. So you have to be the one to undo it yourself like that, and that's what we are doing here. But instead of you mentioning the side directly like this, you can just use this as shorthand property, which is going to help you to change the left, the right, the top, and the bottom at once. So when you're talking about this inline, that one is talking about the left and the right at once. So it can help you to change left and right once, or you can even change the two of them separately on that one line. That's inline. When you're talking about the block, that one is talking about top and bottom. So when you need, because sometimes you only want to change left and right, you don't want to change top and bottom, you just use inline, padding inline, or margin inline, depending on where you want to put the space. And when you want to change top and bottom, you can quickly use this padding block, which is going to help you to change top and bottom. But when you say padding, it can change left, right, top, bottom at once. It's not changing one, no, it's changing them at once. So depending on the value you give to it. So you can give it one value. You know, we have four sides. So you can give it one value, you can give it two value, you can give it three value, and you can give it four value. The maximum side you have there is four. So you can't go more than four. So when you give it one value, that single value is going to apply to all of them at once. So instead of you mentioning top, left, right on different line for the same value, you can just do it on one line. So this thing is just the same thing as you going to separate line 4 times to mention all the side. So when you give it one value, it will apply to all the side at once. So what it will do, this is how it moves. So what it will do is that it will apply the stuff here, it will apply it again here, it will apply it here, and at the same time, it will apply it here. And that's why you see that all of them have the same size. So when you are using one value for the stuff, so when you're using one value for it, all of them are going to have the same thing. What's wrong with my pen? So when you're using the same thing like that, one value for the padding, then all of them are going to have the same. But what if you give it two value? So what if you give it two value? For example, here I have 4 rem here. So what is it going to happen? So what is going to happen here is that the first value, what it's going to do is that it's going to apply it to the top. And the second value that we have there, so the second value that we have is going to apply it. No, I told you it starts from the top and it moves to the next in a clockwise direction. So the first value will go to top, the second value will go to right. But where is the value for bottom and the left? So since those ones don't have value, they will not take from their opposite side. Any one of them that doesn't have value, we take from the opposite side. So which means the first value is for top and bottom, while the second value is for right and left. First, it will distribute the value. But any one of them that did not have value will not take from the opposite side. So first, the first number or the first one will go to the top, then move to the next one. So the second number here or the second value will go to this second side. You know, start from top, then to the right, then to bottom, then to left. That's how you move. You move in clockwise, not anti-clockwise there. So the first value will be applied to this one. The second value will work on this one. But there is nothing for left and there is nothing for bottom. So just look at the opposite side. What are you applying there? That's what you give to that one too. And once this one is saved now, you see that top and bottom will be 2 rem, left and right will be 4 rem like that. But what if we now give it maybe this one here? As you can see now, they are now what? They are now 3. So these two will still go the same way that you know there like that. But what will now happen is that this value now, this one will now come to the bottom. You know, the first value to top, the second value to the right, then the third value to the bottom. So now, what's the value for the left? That one doesn't have. So it will still take from the opposite. So this one is for the top, this one is for left and right, and this one is for bottom. So when you give it one value, all of them will share it. When you give it two value, the first one is for top and bottom. The second one is for left and right, or right and left. So if you give it three value, then the third one is going to the bottom. So it's not sharing, since it already have its own value, it will not pick from the opposite again. So once I save now, you see that bottom now have its own value. So it will not borrow from the top. And once you give it 4, everything will take their own value there. So the first one is for the top, the second one is for the right, the third one is for the bottom, and the last one is for the left there. So here too, we can just distribute this one to the left. So now the left will now have its own value like that. And once I save it, top is going to be 2 rem, right is going to be 4 rem, bottom is going to be 8 rem, while the left is going to be 12 rem, as you can see, like that. So that's why it will not borrow from the opposite. Any one of them that don't have value, they will borrow from the opposite side. And what we are doing here for padding is still the same thing as for margin. The difference is where the space is going to, like that. So here, if I change it to margin, you see that instead of the spacing to be inside, it will now be outside of the box. So we are not doing any magic here. So margin, do it outside. Padding, do it inside. So when you need space, you need to know where you want to put it. Are you putting it outside, or are you putting it inside? So if you are putting it inside, you know that you need to call padding. If you are putting it outside, you know that you're supposed to call margin. But which side are you changing? So if you want to change all of them with one value, just use padding and give it one value, straightforward. It will apply to all of them. But if you know that this thing is going to have different value based on the side, or most of the time you see that left and right are sharing the same value, top and bottom are sharing the same value. So you just quickly give it that 2 value and it will apply the stuff. But most of, like, that's what you always see. You always see that is that everything is equal, or left and or what happens is that when you look at the container and the spacing inside, the space can be equal for all of them, or the left and right will share the same thing, and top and bottom too will share the same thing. That's the pattern you always see. But if this is not using that pattern, then you have the other way to specify for each one of them, because we have some records that they use different value. But most of the time, you always see that left and right are sharing value, top and bottom are sharing value like that. And that's how this, as you can see here, this one is the same thing across for the padding there. So they are not, the left is the same thing as the right, and it's the same thing as the bottom, and the same thing. The top, it looks like the top is more than the other one. But the reason it's like that, I think, is the image. But as you can see, the top now is not the same. So you can actually mention, let me see the top. No, it's not because of that. So more, they can actually give it, and you can see now, you can check. All you just need to do is to right click, then you inspect, you see whatever they are doing, and the CSS will show you. So in here now, let me show you. You are going to see that there is sometimes you are going to see yellow color, sometimes you are going to see green color. Green means that's a padding around the box, while the yellow means, or the orange means, the margin around the box. So there's a lot of things they're applying here. So as you can see, like that orange stuff, that thing is showing that they're applying margin there. So there's like that tiny margin around the stuff. And if it is green that is showing, that is the padding that is there. Where is this thing? Let me open this again. So that's the image. As you can see now, can you see that it's a green? So it means they are not applying it on the container. They're applying on the content that is inside the box. You can see now. See that this one too is telling me that it's padding there. Once you see green, that's padding. But if you see that orange or yellowish color, just know that that is a margin there, like that. You can even click on it. Here, if you go to computed, it's going to show you the margin. And can you see, it's telling, can you see now, there is nothing on the bottom, but there is a 8 on the left, 8 on the right, and 4 at the top. But there is no border and there is no margin. Once we put line there, it means those ones are not there. Any one of them that is line, it means it's not present. The one that is present is what you are going to see. So the number here is the width, then the number here is the height of that box. So the CSS have everything. You can, based on this, you can know what is going on with the content, because sometimes you don't really know the exact height or the width, because the content can change based on the screen. You can see that I reduce the screen, and again I can increase the screen, and some of this content they will adjust based on what is going on the page, and some of them they don't. They maintain a specific value. As you can see that that site is not changing at all, even though I'm reducing the stuff, because I have to reload the page before it will show the stuff for me. But here now, if I go to this one and I just inspect this content, you see that the display will be different based on the screen. You can see this is the screen for tablet, but once I enter a particular flow, as you can see now, you see that it changed. Again, can you see that the image is not down? It's the content is now up, instead of them to be side by side. So sometimes all this thing will change. As you can see, it is auto for this element here. So it means it's expanding based on the content that is there. So there is no definite width. Again, there is no padding, there is no border, and there is no margin on that element. So, but some of them, you know, they are going to have margin. Some of them, can you see this one now? It have margin and it have padding there. So as you can see, padding is 12, 12 for top and bottom. Left and right is 20. And for the margin, it's always at the bottom side. There is nothing like on, as you can see, that is only showing that color on down part. So it's kind of easy to get all this in once you get used to it, because when you are doing some design, you want to check other people design, what they are doing. Maybe you like one design and you want to see what they are doing, you will inspect it, and these are what you'll be checking to see what you need to apply and what you don't need to do. So what are the margin you need to apply there, and so forth like that. So you see the visual of the visual representation of the stuff. So yeah, we talked about margin and padding. Another thing we need to talk about is the border. As you can see that that box model property, you see that border too is there. And what is border? Border is the tiny line around the edge of the box. So that edge of the box, that is you can put this tiny line around the stuff. And again, to border too is shorthand property, because you can use it to change for the bottom, you can use it to change for the top, even it even go more than, you can use it to change, because there are 4 sides here too. You have the border for the top, you have the separate border for the right, you have separate border for the left at the bottom, and you have for the left. But you can use this border to change all of them at once. But if you want to focus on the left side, you do border left, because you should see something like this before. So yeah, now what you put here, so this one too is shorthand property, because you are going to give it the width, you are going to give it the style, and you are going to give it the color. If you don't give it the color, it will use black by default. So the width or the style, majorly what you put is just the side. This is how you used to specify it. So I will use 5 pixels. That means the width, just like the line we apply to our text. So we want to do it for the container or the box. Now that one is for text, but this one now is for the box. Like that. So yeah, the width is going to be 5 pixels. So the style is going to be solid. So just save it. As you can see now, it's only on the left side. But if I want the color, I can just put yellow like this, which is something you normally see online, that you're going to see strip by the side, or it can be anyhow where they want to put it like that. But I think this yellow is not coming out properly. Let me just, this one too is not good. Let me use this red. I think this one makes sense. It's clear. But what if I want it on all the sides? So I will just remove that side that I mentioned. Then if you remove the side, it will apply it on all of them. But there's a problem with this border. You used to add extra size to your box. As you can see, that some stuff change yet. So if you don't apply this stuff, can you see that everything move up a little bit? But after applying the stuff, because they used to take off space. Border used to take off space. Once you add border there, if the thing is, maybe your box is height is before is 20. Once you add border of 5, that means it's now 25. Because you used to add extra space. There's another one there which is known as an outline. That one doesn't have space. It used to be. We're going to see that one with input later on when we are designing a proper form. But for now, the border is the most used one, like that. Again, you can mention the side that you want, or you can even change any one of the property you want. So if I just say border color, so for all the side, I just want to change only the color. I don't want to change anything. So this one is going to just be orange. Let me just use this Rebecca blue like this. So the only thing I just want to change is our color, but every other thing that we've mentioned before remain the same. The only thing I just want to change, or if it's just for a particular side, I can just say border top color, like that. So the only thing I just want to change is the one at the top, the color at the top. I don't care about every other place. So save now. As you can see, the other one will still remain what, because I've already put red here. But here now I'm not changing only the top color to another one, like that. Or if you just the top you want to apply this top, so you don't even need to do this. What you just do is to just say border top like this. Whatever you are doing, it's always going to put it at the top. But if you don't mention the side, it's going to apply it for all the side that we have on the page, like that. So this is border. Another thing that's related to border is the border radius. So another thing that is related to border is what the border radius. So what is the curve of this edge that you have here? So how do you want, like, what is the radius of that curve? So do you want it to be curved, or you just want it, as you can see by default, is just sharp edge? But sometime, or some of the blocks you want to work with, you see that they are not sharp. The edge is not sharp. For example, like this container, as you can see at the top, it's kind of rounded a little bit, like that. So going to this page, you see that the button, as you can see, is not having the normal button edge that we are used to. Even the normal button we are used to, there, you still have a little bit of round stuff there. But what if you want to do something like this? That's where the border radius comes in. And anytime you want to turn something to circle too, like this, you need border radius. You can see this edge now. See that it's kind of having a curve. Yes, anywhere you have curve like this, that's what you are going to use to do something like that. Once you have curve, you are going to use border radius. And as you can see, it's always being used a lot of sites these days. As you can see here too, they always use it like that. Again, on this input, this is input, but it looks like this thing is inside that input. That's where positioning that I talked about. You can see now that this button is being positioned in kind of like a, or it's not even inside the stuff, like that, but you can still put it inside. But that is the way we used to do it, with the help of positioning property, so that it will not look as if the stuff is inside this stuff. Because this one, as you can see, this one too, can you see that it's on top of every other content? So these are positioning properties in action. So once you get to that one, you're going to see how to do all this one. But for now, let's stay with this our box, like that. So let me save, so that we'll go back to the normal stuff that we have. Let me apply padding maybe around this 1 rem, which is going to give the same space. When there is this edge now, I don't just want them to be like that. I want it to curve, so we can use border radius. This one too is shorthand property, as you can see. So they make it easier. So instead of it changing all of them one by one, you can just change them at once. Again, to this one too, you can see that there are 4 edges. This one is using edges, not side. Now when you're dealing with padding, margin, and border, those ones are side, where you have the top, left, right, and but this one are edge. So where you have the top left, this is the top right, bottom right, and bottom left. So that's what you be. That's why you see that it was showing this in data. As you can see, we have the top right, left, top right, bottom, end. End is this. This is the start. So when you now say this is the start, I mean this is start. This is start end. This is all those crazy stuff, but we are not going to be going on to the full one. What you will just use is a simple shorthand one, because with this you can change all of them at once. You can change any one of them. So this one too, it follows that pattern of padding or margin, but it's talking about the edge. So it will start from here, then move to here, and it's move to here. So which means if you give it one value, it will just use it for all of them. When you give it one value, it will use that single value for all of them. But if you give it two value, what it will do is that the first one will go for this edge, the second one will go for this edge, then the other one will take from their opposite. So which means the first one is for this and this, the second one is for this and this. So once I save this one now, you see that this one will be using 3. So this one will use 3, 3, while these two will use 1, 1. You can see now we are now having this kind of a shape stuff coming out like that. So border radius to there. But what if you give it another one, maybe like 6 REM? What are you tapping? So here now we have 6 REM like this. So now the first one for this, I don't know why this one did not have this thing now load to this order. So like that. This one is for this, because this we can with this can so this one is for this one is for this one is for this, but no, the other one they don't have, so that one we just take from the opposite. Anyone you do not give the value, we just take from the opposite. Yes, it's always like that. Just like the padding and margin followed, but now this one is dealing with edge, not side, because you are not changing the side. What you are changing is the edge of the box. And if you give it the same whatever stuff, you see that this one too will not take from its opposite again. It will just use what I gave to it, because I gave it 1 REM, so it will just pick one. So which means this and this will be 1 like that. And sometimes you only want to give to this and this. So what I can just do, since I know that the first one is for that one, so this is going to be 2 REM, then this one is going to be 0. Because I know that this one will go for this and this, while this one will go for this and this. So I only need it at this edge. I don't need it for this one. Or I only need it for this and this. I don't need it for the remaining one. So what I can just do is, this one will be 2 REM, then 0, 0. Because the first one is for this, the second one is for this, the third one is for this, and the fourth one is for this. So save like this. You see that it will be at the top, which is the same thing I'm using here. As you can see, the stuff is always coming out here. It's not here. So it all depends on what you are trying, because it's not just for your like your text. It can come in anywhere you have box, even your image or anything. So once you need that edge, just call border radius and you apply what you need on it like that. So what else we have on the list? So another thing that we have on the list here is our box shadow, because that one too is very, very important there like that. If you go to like this Jumia that we see before, as you can see, there is this kind of like a shadow at the back of that box. So how can we create that shadow? But I told you there are two types of shadow. We have the one for text and we have the one for box. But I will focus on the box right now. So, and I will show you the text too. So we have box shadow, not box icing, no. The box shadow. So when you're talking about box shadow, you want to apply like your shadow as you're working, your shadow is following. The same thing here too. You can give shadow to mimic the real life shadow on the element. So the shadow can appear on X and it can appear on Y. So you are going to specify the direction on the X. You are going to specify the direction of Y, how you are moving it on X and Y. So the other thing, another necessary, the other one is the blur. So how blurred is that your shadow? You are going to see it. Again, we have spread. How spread? Do you want it to be close to or you want it to spread out? Or you want to control the spread of the blur? And again, we have the color of the shadow. So this, when you're dealing with shadow, whether it is text or it is a box, this is what you always have there. So whether it is text or yeah, No, you are going to the color. You know you are going to apply color. So what's the blur, like the blur radius? Look at the shadow now. So you can see it's not that clear. So you can use this blur to mimic some. But that one used to as you are applying blur, it used to spread the stuff. So you can now use the spread to now control how that thing is spreading out like that. For example, here, let me apply the stuff. So here, what I just want to do is a box shadow. Ah, box shadow. So on the X is not moving at all, but I will show you on the Y is moving by 10 pixels. When it is positive, it's coming down. If it is negative, it's going up. So let me just save it like that. Can you see? That's it. That's why I put the box on all this one. They are not needed. The major thing that I needed is just the movement on the X and Y. So other one, the color will just be black, and again, it will not be blur at all. As you can see, it looks like the box on its own. But we can actually blur it because now it's not looking like the way we want. It does not look like a reshadow. A reshadow don't look like the original content. It used to have this kind of a blurrish stuff on it. So here now, I can just use 5. This is too much. 5 pixels like this. So save. Can you see now? It will start blowing out the stuff. But as you are blowing the stuff, it will keep spreading the box. So if I use 15 pixels like this, as you can see now, it's applying the shadow, like the shadow is there, but it's now spreading the stuff. But you can actually constrain the stuff if you don't want. As you can see, that's what I'm using here. So there is a shadow here, but that shadow is, as you can see, that it's at the top, not down. So if I want to move this one to up, I just need to put negative value for that Y because it is up, not down. So and that's what I'm doing here. To put the shadow at the top. As you can see, that it's not on the X at all. So X is 0. But if I want it on the X too, I can just use the movement too. And as you can see, it's going up on the Y, on the X, it's coming to this edge. But if I want it to go to that side, I just need to use negative value like that. And once this thing is saved, as you can see, if I want it to go up more, so I can use this 50 pixels so that you can see now the shadow is outside. But most of the time, you want the shadow to be close to the box, and that's what we are using here. If you look at this stuff at the back, you see that there's this kind of a ish at the back of it. But you know that one is, the color is not that visible like the other one. What we did here is that we now apply the color, then apply our alpha channel. You know that one can allow you to reduce the intensity of the color so that you can see what is at the back of it, and that's what is going on there. Like that. And as you can see too, you see that the content at the back of that stuff, you can still see it, even though it's not clear, but you can still see the content. So it's because the background color that we apply there is not that, it's not using alpha channel of 1, it's using around that 0.5. And when you apply alpha channel, depending on what you use, it will allow you to see through the content. So that's what we use here to be able to see what at the back. But if you just use normal color, you will not be able to see anything at the back of it by default. And the same thing here too. Even if you apply color, maybe you change the color, the shadow now, we don't want it to be black, we want it to be red. It will still not show what is at the back. What did I type here? Something is missing here. So I've removed this value. Why is this one removed? But I don't want it to be up. I don't want it to be down. I want it to be up. And as you can see, like that, the shadow is that is still visible, but I don't want it to be like that. So we can apply our alpha channel. But most of the time, you use a lower value for your alpha so that it will not that, as you can see, that is there, which is going to give us. And most of the time too, you always close to the black side. That's black always, no, your shadow, as you can see, shadow is always close to this kind of a black stuff. So it's going to give up. But this thing is too much, the spread. I'll be this our radius. So I will just use maybe around this 5 pixels. And as you can see, it's there like that. But I don't want this thing to just go anyhow outside. Just a little bit from the element so that it will mimic this real life stuff like that. But let me remove this and put it. And as you can see, it's there again too. Most of the time on the X, as you can see, it doesn't go outside on the X. Just maybe most of the time, just 1 pixel if you want it to go, or we want to do some custom stuff, that's when you move it outside. But majorly, most of the time, the X doesn't move. It's the Y, and as you can see now, can you see that it's looking nice and smooth like that? And I think this thing is really, really mod like that. If you want, you can change it to maybe around 0.5. Sometimes you might need to decrease it based on the background that you have. You know, here we have white now, but sometimes you might actually have a different background, and you need to reduce the stuff a lot so that it will look nice on that background, and everything we you know, can see here too like that. There's some kind of a shadow going on there like that, but it's not that much like that. So you don't allow it to come out too much. You just little shadow, because when you overdo it, it start looking somehow on the page like that. As you can see, that is here too. So that it's not look as if it's sitting down on top of that. Is just, but if you look at it now, the X is out and the Y is down. So which means it's coming like this. So which means we need to use negative X and positive Y so that it can give us something like this. So yeah, now we need to use maybe like 5 pixels, and for the Y to be positive. So going to the page now, you'll see that we have something like that too. And no, that's X. So X is going like this, but you know why it's still coming down, and so that one will still maintain its own positive this. Because two of them will be, if you are changing, two of them have to move. It's just like coordinate on a coordinate distance. So it have to move based on your X and Y value that you apply there. Like that. So, but now, what if you don't want the shadow to be on the box? You want it to be on the text. No, right now, you know it's H1 that we're talking to, but it's not putting it on the text. It's putting it on the box because we are using box shadow. But if you don't want it on the box, we actually need it on the text that is inside that box. Then we can use text shadow. So now it's not putting it, as you can see, it's not on the box again. It's now inside the text. But if it is not text that is there, that's still another way of doing it like that. But this is the simplest or the most used way of doing that thing. So let me use 2 pixels so that we can see it. No, it's not that blur. Or you can use 0 so that it will just appear like that. And again too, don't let me apply any alpha whatever stuff there. And as you can see, it's come out, but you know it's not making sense like that because it's now taking attention from the main content. So it's always good that you apply this alpha channel. It will be there. As you can see, it gives this kind of a nice design. And again, majorly should close to the stuff, maybe around this 2 for the X. That one too should be 2. Don't be far from the actual content like this. Again too, we have something known as insets for your shadow. Because when you are talking about the shadow, you know, by default, it's putting the shadow outside of the box. But what if you want to put it inside the box? So it comes with that one too, because you can actually put it inside. Let me increase this thing so that we can see it very well. So it's 2 pixel 5 like this, and as you can see that it is outside. Let me increase this one so that it can show clearly. So it is outside. So what if you want it to be inside? So after everything, you can actually use inset. So it's not outside, it's going to be inside the stuff. So once I save it now, as you can see, it will now be inside the box like that. Even though this thing used to do some crazy stuff because it's changed the side like that. So if I want it to come down now, I just need to reverse the stuff. So like this, which is now negative like that, or I can just use 3 like this. As you can see, it's in a, you know, because we reverse the stuff, you know, before it is outside, now that it's inside. So you have to change your positive to negative and negative to you have to reverse the sign so that it give you what you want. If it is outside, you know that negative is going up for Y, negative is going to left for this one. But if it is inside, as you can see, it's different. So the shadow is inside, not outside. And again too, you can apply multiple shadow to one element, because to achieve something, can you see that it's only applying it here? There is nothing like here. So what if I want to do another one here? You can actually apply multiple shadow on one element. So to apply multiple shadow, just separate it with comma. You know the value we are separating with space. So once separate with comma here, it will generate another set of shadow for us like that. So save now. Can you see? This one is outside, but this one is inside it. So and now it's giving us this kind of, can you see now, this custom design that we have on these elements like that. So shadow, you can apply it multiple times. Just separate each one of them with comma like that, and you are going to have your design like this. But most of the time, you are not the one that will do all this thing. It will come from the designer. Even the value that I'm using here are like that. I did not just what I just do is go to that element where it's being used. I just need to click on it. So clicking on it here, I will see. Can you see here? This one is the radius. It's border radius. Where is that one, sir? I think it's showing it on the desktop, not on the mobile design. So this is where I got it from, like that. So can you see box shadow, the value? So the value is here. So what I just need to do is just to copy it and paste. But you know, if the thing is not following what you want, you need to adjust it. And that's the reason you need to know what each one of the value are representing it. So not that you just see this stuff, what is all this one? So you need to know what each one of the value is representing so that when you need to make modification to it, because later on, or most of the time when you want to work, you can actually use some of these online tools to build site where they will, your own is just to be doing drag and drop. But sometimes you need to, you know, go behind the scene and modify the stuff. Some of the thing you can use here is like this word press. So this WordPress is free. They have the one for the coders, and we have the one for, I'm recording, so this thing is, so we have the one for the coder, and we have the one for people that just want to do drag and drop. So you can quickly use it to build site easily. What you just need to do, go there, search for it, log in into your account, and once you log in, you start creating whatever site you want to create for free. And again, it can help you to deploy the stuff. But as you can see, they have a lot of all these drag and drop. But sometimes you want to do customization to what they are giving you. So that is why you need to know all these things. So because they have the area for adjusting the code that thing is generating. So when you now see the code, it will not look strange to you that, oh, you now see box shadow and all these values. So you know, you already know what is going on there, and you know what to change and so forth like that. But most of the time, you don't need to change a lot of things there, because what you just be doing is drag and drop, and you can quickly use this one now to quickly create a site for someone, maybe that is a business or something like that. You just go there and do the stuff like that. Yes, I know that I have account. You cannot log in with the Google for me. Connect. Thank you. So it's going to go to my account. From there, you can create. I'm coming on. I don't want to pause this thing. So as you can see, it will take you to their dashboard. And on the dashboard, you can start building whatever you want to build like that. As you can see, it comes with post. It comes with page. You can go to the settings. You are going to see themes. So instead of you building all this thing from scratch, they have all the tooling already for you. Your own is just to start putting things together. And as you can see, the address of the URL. So what I just need to do, copy it, because they will create a free one for you like that. And you can change the stuff to your own domain later, as you can see what is just showing like that. So nothing fun. But if I want to customize, as you can see, I just need to go to the page. I can change anything about this page, put whatever I want to put on a page, and it's make it easier for you to quickly build something for, you know, someone that doesn't need too much of customization or different stuff. As you can see, I can change the image, I can change the colors and the background and the color, whatever stuff. You don't need to start typing everything yourself. But to get to a point, you need, can you see now, additional CSS. So they asked me to upgrade before I can do that. So now you want to do some serious work yourself. So you as a developer, now that you already have experience with the coding, it will not be that hard to modify some stuff. Or if you don't want to do the modification from here, you can actually change to, can actually use themes. Because going back to that setting down here, where are you, Seth? So they have where to pick. You can go to this plugin, but not the plugin that I want. That WooCommerce, that one is when you want to add maybe like buying and selling on the site. So that's where this one comes in. This one help you to do all those buying and selling stuff. And again, these are some other things you can add to the page. So you have the themes. Where did you add this thing now? So setting the general writing media yeah, appearance. So this is what I'm looking for. So go to the themes and you see that you can pick different themes based on what you are doing. Is it blog your site all about? Is it portfolio, maybe your what you do, and so business, store, and so forth like that. So once you go under it, some of them are free, some of them you have to pay. As you can see now, this one is free. So you can use any one of them. The one that is paid, as you can see, available on business, so you cannot use it for free. All this one now, you cannot use them. So you have to subscribe, or instead of you doing this, you can actually go to the one that you download the code and you set it up yourself from scratch, which requires great knowledge of setting off. So this one I don't need to do any setup. Just log into their system and start creating the site. But that one you have to download everything and set it up. You set up your database, set up everything, and as you can see, this is how it's going to look like once you put all the products and everything. Now the Teams is active, so I can go to the site, reload the page, and if it is successful, as you can see now, it will change. So what I just need to do is to start modifying the content by just edit site. So to take me back to that page, and I can start removing what I don't need, add what I needed. But you have a limited customization on the store. But if you need full stuff, you need to now use some of the coding experience that you have. As you can see now, I just need to click on it. And once I click on it and everything is okay, it will give it for, it will bring out the stuff. So scroll whatever stuff I can see. I just need to change it. If I want it to be bold, it will be bold. If I want it to be slant, it will be slant, and so forth like that. And again, you want it to be superscript, all those things that will. So it's just, it will be generating all those HTML and the CSS behind the scene. But most of the time, you want to, can you see now, edit as what? HTML. Can you see now? It's now showing the code. So now with this, you have the full power to customize the stuff compared to someone that doesn't have the knowledge of the stuff like that. So, and again, can you see that they have advanced this thing where you can do a lot of things, apply additional CSS like that. So, and again, maybe you have CSS you've created before, you just upload it and it will change the stuff. So it make it easier for you to customize the stuff or and do some stuff. Or again, if you want to add pages, you're going to see all the pages. We only have pages about. So if I want, I can add more pages and I will connect them together. I think when we are done with our normal HTML and CSS, we're going to do something so that you can use that one to quickly set up some site for people that just want to display maybe this is my business, this is what I do. They are not really doing much on it. What they just want to do is just to display what they are not selling. But if you still want to include selling or for people to buy, it have all those things. That's where this WooCommerce comes in there. Like that. Again, too, you can even set up page tag. You just need to go under the plugin like that, and you search for whatever plugin you are looking for. For example, here we can just search for page tag if it is free or if it's something that is available. You have it. But if you want to have total control over this, you can see now. So page tag, which means on the site you'll be able to pay through Paystack. As you can see, Paystack WooCommerce payment gateway. So to connect it to this WooCommerce there. So and you can set up your products. You can go to all the posts when you want to do blogs. Again, on your page or whatever product you have, you can just go to the pages. You add the page you want and you put whatever product you want to put on that page. And once you click on add to cart, you connect it to this WooCommerce. Again, you connect this Paystack to that so that you'll be able to collect or people will be able to pay in Naira like that. But first, let's deal with the coding part, then we can now come into all this one later on like that. So that's going to be all for today. So stop recording. Stop. Have I stopped?